Ethan Cole had seen many strange places in his life, but nothing was as silent and lonely as the asteroid called K-29. It floated in the darkness like a broken stone, with only one thing sitting on it: an abandoned alien workshop that no one wanted to buy. But Ethan bought it. Why? Because it was cheap. Very cheap. And he was desperate. He needed a place to work, a place to fix machines and earn credits. He thought this old alien workshop might give him a new start. But from the moment he stepped out of his small ship, he felt something was wrong. The air smelled like burnt metal. The landing pad had deep cracks, and the workshop door hung slightly open, like someone had left in a hurry. Ethan swallowed the tight feeling in his throat and walked inside. The workshop was huge, bigger than he expected. Blue and green alien lights glowed from the ceiling, flickering like they were dying. Strange tools were scattered on the floor, tools shaped like claws, curved blades, and glowing cubes that hummed softly. Heavy machines stood in the corners, rusted but still powerful looking. Ethan whispered to himself. Who lived here? He had seen alien tech before, but this felt different. This place had a history, a violent one. On the walls, he noticed slash marks, not small scratches, deep, sharp cuts that ripped straight through metal. Something with claws had been inside this workshop, something strong. He took a slow step back. For a moment, he thought about leaving, getting back into a ship, and flying far, far away. But then his wrist scanner beeped. It showed the full property now belonged to him. No turning back. All right, he muttered. Let's explore. He walked deeper into the workshop. Every step echoed loudly, like he wasn't alone. The place felt heavy, like the silence was watching him. Old computer screens blinked with alien warnings. Machines were half broken, wires hanging out like dead vines. Then Ethan heard it. A sound. A low, dull thump from somewhere below his feet. He froze. Another thump. And then another. Slow. Heavy. Something was moving under the workshop. Ethan looked around. There was a metal hatch in the floor, covered in dust. Someone had locked it with 3 thick bars. He knelt down and brushed the dirt away. The metal hatch had alien symbols burned into it. He checked his scanner. Life form detected. Unknown. His heart jumped. Someone, or something, was alive under the floor. He whispered. This wasn't in the property listing. He knew he should leave. But he also knew that if something dangerous was inside, it could get out, and then he'd be dead. So he had to know. He grabbed a tool from his bag, a plasma cutter, and forced the first metal bar open. The sound echoed like a scream in the empty workshop. He opened the second bar, then the third. With a slow push, the hatch lifted open. A cold wave of air rose from below. A staircase led into darkness. Ethan turned on his flashlight. The beam cut through the dust, revealing a narrow hallway full of old pipes and wires. The thumping sound was louder down here, more like a deep heartbeat. He stepped inside. The deeper he went, the more he felt watched. His hand shook slightly as he held the flashlight. The hallway ended at a large door, round, metal, and sealed tight. Alien writing glowed around the edges. And the thumping was coming from behind this door. Ethan placed his palm on it. The metal was warm. He checked the side panel and found a control switch. When he pressed it, the door opened with a slow, heavy hiss. A bright light burst out, forcing Ethan to cover his eyes. When his vision cleared, he froze where he stood. Inside the room was a bio vault, glowing bright blue. Tubes and cables ran into it like veins. The casing was transparent, and inside were 2 giant eggs. Not chicken eggs. Not reptile eggs. These were almost half as tall as Ethan, glowing like they were made of fire and crystal. Each egg pulsed. Thump, 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 a perfectly timed heartbeat. Ethan gasped. He had seen alien creatures before, but nothing like this. The eggs were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. He reached forward, unable to stop himself, and touched the glass. The eggs instantly glowed brighter. Their heartbeat sped up. His scanner beeped again, louder this time. Life signs, strong. Species, unknown. Status, near hatching. Time remaining, 48 hours. Ethan stepped back, breathing hard. 48 hours? Then another message flashed. Warning. Prior owners left an emergency. Danger level. High. Ethan's stomach dropped. Why did the previous owners run? Why leave the eggs? What was inside them? He didn't know. But he knew one thing. He wasn't alone anymore. And whatever was inside those eggs was almost ready to come out. Ethan stood frozen in front of the glowing eggs. The heartbeat-like sound filled the whole basement room. Slow but powerful, like something ancient was breathing in its sleep. He forced himself to breathe normally. Okay, calm down, he whispered. Just eggs. Big, strange, alien eggs. But he couldn't lie to himself. These were not normal eggs. These were alive in a way he could feel. The workshop lights flickered again, as if reacting to the energy in the room. Blue patterns glowed across the biovault, moving like streams of electricity. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead and stepped closer. The eggs pulsed once, twice, then glowed stronger, as if sensing him. His scanner vibrated. A new warning flashed. Imprint risk, high. First contact creates permanent bond. Ethan blinked. Bond? With what? He took a shaky breath and looked for information. On the side of the biovault, he found a small data tablet covered in dust. When he cleaned it and turned it on, alien text shimmered across the screen. Luckily, the workshop had a translation module. The words changed into simple English. Project Ember-Twins. Class, bioengineered creature. Purpose, war asset. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. War asset. These eggs were built, not born. Created for war. He swallowed hard and kept reading. Danger level, extreme. Ability, controlled thermal burst, starship damage potential. Growth speed, rapid. Behavior, loyal to first being imprinted. Ethan looked at the eggs again, now glowing brighter than before. They were warm, alive. A strange smoke-like mist floated between them inside the vault. Loyal to the first being they see, he whispered. So if they hatch around an enemy, I'm dead. He paced around the room, trying to stay calm. He needed to think. Should he leave them? Sell them? Destroy them? His mind screamed to destroy them immediately. Weapons of war were trouble. But then he read the final line on the tablet. Status. Abandoned project. Out of control. Ethan's breath caught. Out of control. Suddenly, the workshop's main light shut off with a loud snap. Darkness swallowed everything. The only light came from the eggs, glowing brighter, hotter, like something inside was stretching its wings for the first time. A deep vibration rolled through the metal floor. Then another. The eggs weren't just alive, they were awake. Not good, Ethan whispered. He backed up slowly, but his boot hit something. A metal crate fell over, echoing loudly. The eggs pulsed again, reacting. Then, the workshop alarm activated. A sharp siren cut through the silence. Red lights flashed. A message appeared on every screen. Emergency override detected. Hostile ships in range. Ethan's heart stopped. Hostile ships? Who? How? He ran up the stairs to the main floor. His scanner connected to the workshop's old tracking system. A hologram flickered on the table. 2 ships, then 3, then 5, all heading toward his asteroid. Fast. And their energy signatures were alien, not friendly. Oh no! Ethan rushed back down to the basement. He needed to move the eggs, hide them, do something, anything, before those ships landed. But when he reached the egg chamber, he froze again. The eggs were reacting violently. They glowed white-hot, cracking from the top like glass under pressure. A thin, bright line appeared on the first egg shell. Then another on the second. Crack! Crack! Inside he saw movement. A shape. A tail. Something small, but strong push against the shell. Ethan stepped back slowly. His voice trembled. They're hatching right now? He wasn't ready. He didn't have a plan. He didn't know how dangerous they were. He didn't even know what they looked like. And the hostile ships were almost here. The eggs cracked again, a long, jagged break running down the center. A glowing red light shone through the cracks like fire trapped inside. The workshop floor shook as a sonic boom echoed from outside. The alien ships had entered the atmosphere. Ethan grabbed a plasma tool from his belt. He didn't want to fight the babies, but he didn't want to die either. He stood ready. Crack! The first egg burst open with a flash of golden flame. Ethan raised his arm to shield his eyes. When the fire dimmed, a tiny creature crawled out. It was beautiful. A small dragon-like creature with glowing red scales, thin golden wings, and eyes like molten lava. It made a soft chirping sound and shook its wet wings. Then it looked directly at Ethan. The second egg cracked open behind it. Another small dragon climbed out, slightly darker in color, with silver lines running across its back. Both of them turned toward Ethan at the same time. Ethan stepped back. Stay there. I'm not food. But they didn't attack. Instead, they crawled toward him, slowly, carefully, like newborn animals searching for the one they trusted. The first one reached his boot and nudged it gently, purring like a warm engine. The second sat in front of him, blinking up at him as if asking for protection. Ethan stared in shock. They chose me. The dragons chirped again, soft and innocent. Then the workshop alarm screamed. Hostiles have landed. Breach imminent. Ethan looked at the dragons. The dragons looked at him. He whispered, I guess I'm your family now and we're in big trouble. The dragons curled closer to him, and footsteps echoed from the workshop above. Enemies had entered, and they were coming straight for the eggs. Ethan did not have time to think. The newborn dragons were pressed against his boots, warm and pulsing with tiny heartbeats. Their little wings twitched as they looked up at him with bright, glowing eyes full of trust. Above them, footsteps echoed to the old workshop, heavy, armored steps. Whoever had landed outside was already inside the building, and they were not friendly. Ethan crouched slowly. Okay, listen. I don't know what you are. I don't know why you chose me, but you need to stay quiet. Understand? Both dragons tilted their heads at the same time, as if trying to understand his voice. One chirped softly, a high, gentle sound. The other followed with a lower rumble, almost like a warning growl, even though it was tiny. Ethan forced a shaky breath and picked them up, one in each arm. They were surprisingly warm, like holding two small furnaces. But they didn't burn him. They relaxed against his chest, as if they trusted him completely. He whispered, Good, we need to move. A loud clang shook the workshop above, metal scraping, voices speaking in a harsh alien language. Ethan couldn't understand the words exactly, but he recognized the tone, cold, angry, commanding. They were searching for something. They were searching for the dragons. Ethan slipped toward the back of the basement. He remembered seeing an old ventilation shaft, a small one, on the way down. It might lead to the mining tunnels behind the workshop. He needed to reach that shaft before the soldiers reached him, but when he reached the staircase, the dragon suddenly tensed in his arms. Their bodies stiffened, and both of them turned their heads toward the ceiling. Ethan froze. Above them, boom, something heavy hit the main door. Then again, and again, they were breaking their way deeper. Ethan whispered, come on, and move faster. He reached the stairway, but the moment he stepped onto the first step, the workshop lights flashed red. A voice echoed to the building, rough and alien. Heat signatures detected. Basement level. Prepare capture. Ethan cursed under his breath. They're tracking us. He rushed back down. The dragons clung tighter to his shirt, but surprisingly, they stayed quiet. No panic, just trust. He found the ventilation shaft, a narrow metal tunnel covered in dust. The screws were old, the metal rusted, but it was big enough for him to crawl through. He quickly placed the dragons inside first. They turned around to look at him, waiting. He smiled weakly. You too are smarter than you look. He began loosening the old screws. 1, 2, 3. But before he could remove the last one, crash! The basement door burst open. A tall, armored figure stepped inside, blocking the only exit. Its armor was black and sharp-edged, with glowing red lines across the chest. Its face was covered by a helmet with 3 bright red eyes. Behind it, 2 more soldiers entered, carrying plasma rifles. Ethan froze. The dragons hissed quietly from inside the shaft. The lead soldier scanned the room with a device. It beeped loudly when it passed over Ethan. A metallic voice spoke through its helmet. Human detected. Heat signatures matching Ember-Twins. Confirmed. You will surrender the creatures. Ethan's mouth went dry. They're newborns. They're not weapons. The soldier didn't react. It took a step forward. Its hand reached for a stun gun. Do not resist. Ethan backed toward the shaft, slowly shielding the dragons with his body. He whispered, "Stay behind me." One dragon growled, a tiny but fierce sound. The other flicked its wings, fire sparkling at the tips like tiny golden sparks. The soldier saw it. "Creatures are active," the alien said. "Capture protocol. Lethal force permitted." Ethan's heart dropped. They were going to kill the dragons. "No!" Ethan shouted. And that was the moment everything exploded into action. The armored soldier fired first. A bright bolt of blue energy shot across the basement. Ethan jumped aside just in time. The blast hit the wall, burning a hole through metal. The dragons cried out, sensing danger, their tiny bodies glowing with heat. Ethan grabbed a tool from his belt and threw it at the nearest soldier. It wasn't a weapon, just a wrench, but it distracted the alien for a second. The dragons reacted instantly. The smaller one, the golden-winged dragon, opened its mouth and released a sudden burst of fire. Small, only a few inches long, but intense like a welding torch. The fire hit the soldier's leg armor. The alien screamed and stumbled back. The second dragon followed with a sharp hissing sound and shot a spark-like bolt toward the soldier's helmet. The aliens weren't expecting the babies to fight back. Ethan didn't waste a second. He kicked the last screw off the shaft, swept the dragons inside, and crawled after them. Behind him, the soldiers shouted and fired again. Plasma bolts slammed into the walls around him as he pulled himself into the shaft. He crawled fast, the dragon scampering ahead with surprising speed. The shaft shook as a soldier hit it from the outside. Ethan pushed forward until the shaft opened into a dark mining tunnel. He dropped into the tunnel, grabbed both dragons, and ran into the darkness. Behind him, the soldiers roared with fury. The hunt had truly begun. The mining tunnel was cold, dark, and endless. Ethan's boots splashed through shallow pools of water as he held the dragons close to his chest. He could still hear angry voices echoing from behind, metallic, rough, and getting closer. The aliens were following. Ethan moved deeper into the tunnel. His flashlight flickered over old mining carts, broken tracks, and rusted machines left behind years ago. Dust shook from the ceiling with every explosion the soldiers fired into the workshop above. He whispered the dragons, "Stay quiet, please. We can't let them find us." The newborn dragons were trembling, but not from fear. Their scales glowed faintly, giving off a soft warmth that kept Ethan going. One gently tapped Ethan's chin with its tiny snout, as if saying it's okay. Ethan forced a smile. "You two really trust me, huh?" A loud metallic crash echoed from behind. They were breaking into the tunnel system. Ethan hurried forward, deeper and deeper. The tunnel forked into 3 paths. His scanner flickered with static. Too much interference underground. He chose the left path. Not because it looked safe. It didn't. But because he heard nothing from that direction. The tunnel narrowed, roof dropping low enough that Ethan had to crouch. The dragon slipped out his arms and walked beside him, their tiny claws clicking softly on the stone floor. But suddenly they both stopped. The golden-winged dragon lifted its head and sniffed the air. The silver-lined dragon growled softly, its tail rising. Ethan froze. "What is it?" "Someone coming." He turned his flashlight off. Darkness swallowed him instantly. And that was when he heard it, a scraping sound. Sharp, slow, moving through the center tunnel. The one he didn't take. Then a voice, deep and vibrating like thunder. "Search. Kill the human. Recover the twins." Ethan pressed himself against the wall, holding his breath. The dragons stayed completely still, their glowing scales dimming as if trying to hide. Footsteps approached the fork. Heavy, armor-plated. 3, 4, maybe 5 soldiers. Ethan listened carefully. One soldier spoke, its voice distorted through its helmet. Heat signature faint. They entered left path. Follow. Ethan silently cursed. They were coming. He scooped up the dragons and ran again, pushing deeper into the tunnel. His breath came fast, his heart pounding so hard it felt like it echoed around him. The tunnel opened into a large mining chamber, an old processing room with high ceilings and metal platforms. Broken conveyor belts hung overhead like giant spider webs. Great, Ethan muttered. A maze. He looked for a hiding place. There were storage crates, fallen beams, dark corners. But he needed something that would hide their heat signatures too. The dragons tugged at his shirt, pulling him toward a large piece of machinery, an old mining furnace, thick metal, still cold but shielded enough to mask heat. Ethan slid behind it and crouched low. The dragons curled against him, their small bodies warm but silent. The soldiers entered the chamber moments later. Laser lights swept across the room. Their boots clanged loudly on metal. They moved like hunters, organized, calm, dangerous. One alien scanned the area. A red beam passed across Ethan's hiding place. Ethan held his breath. The dragons didn't move. The scanning sound beeped twice, then went silent. The alien spoke. No clear heat source. Continue forward. The soldiers moved deeper into the mining tunnels. Ethan waited 30 seconds, then 1 full minute, before letting out the breath he had been holding. That was close, he whispered. The dragons chirped softly, bumping their heads against his hands. They didn't seem afraid, not like normal animals would be. They trusted him completely. Ethan rubbed their heads gently. You two, whatever you are, you're stronger than you look. But he knew they weren't safe yet. He stood up and moved quickly toward a ladder he saw earlier. It led upward into another section of the tunnels. He climbed carefully, keeping the dragons close. Above him, the air smelled fresher. Maybe this was the ventilation system the workshop used. He climbed into a narrow walkway. The tunnel was long, with metal beams on both sides and old cables hanging like tangled vines. He followed the path until he reached something unexpected. A large metal door half open, with alien symbols glowing faintly on its surface. The dragons perked up. The golden one chirped eagerly, hopping closer. Ethan narrowed his eyes. You know this place? He pushed the door open. Inside was a small room filled with shattered glass panels, old monitors, and a single large hologram pod in the center. Dust floated everywhere, but the pod flickered with weak blue light. Ethan wiped the surface and activated it. A hologram appeared. A tall alien scientist with thin arms and long silver hair. Its face looked tired, scared. The recorded message began. To whoever finds this place, listen carefully. The Ember-Twins were created to end wars, but they grew beyond control. Only a human can bond with them. Only a human can teach them peace. If the Kuroth Empire finds them, everything will burn. Ethan felt a cold shiver travel down his spine. So the dragons weren't monsters. They were weapons, yes, but they were also children. Intelligent, loyal, innocent, and the universe wanted to use them. The hologram flickered again. If you hear this, protect them. Do not let the Empire take them. The future will depend on the choices you make. The message ended. Ethan looked at the dragons. They looked back with glowing eyes full of trust. He whispered, I guess Destiny chose the wrong guy, but I'm all you've got. Before he could move, a loud roar echoed from the tunnel behind him. The soldiers had found their trail. And this time they were not alone. Something much larger stepped into the mining chamber. The real hunt was about to begin. Captain Rafi stood inside the dim command tent, staring at the hologram taken from the alien ship. The huge metallic structure still sat quietly in the desert, like a sleeping giant that did not care who feared it. Soldiers moved around it with guns ready. Drones hovered above it, and armored jeeps stayed in a circle, but the ship did not move even a little. Outside, the wind blew sand against the tents. Inside, the air felt heavy. Everyone waited for answers, and no one had any. General Kaif entered the tent with fast steps. Report, he said, his voice low but tense. Rafi pointed to the frozen hologram. Sir, the ship made no sound. No signal. No radiation. Nothing at all. It is alive but silent. Kaif folded his arms. Silent means watching. Rafi did not like the way he said it. Before the general could continue, a young communication officer rushed inside. Sir, we got something. Everyone turned. What is it? Rafi asked. A signal, but not from the ship. The officer swallowed hard. It's coming from under the ground. Silence fell again. Minutes later, they all stood near the alien ship. The night sky was dark, only stars watching the desert. Lights from the camp shine on the metallic surface, making it glow faintly. Major Sanaa carried the portable scanner. She placed it on the sand and waited. After a moment, she said, "The signal is clear," repeating, like a heartbeat. Rafi tried to joke, but his voice shook. Let's hope it's not an actual heart. Kaif did not smile. Open a feed. I want to hear it. A speaker crackled. Then a slow, rhythmic thump, thump, thump. Sanaa frowned. Sir, this is not natural. It is controlled. Rafi looked at the alien ship, then at the sand beneath them. Maybe something woke up down there. Before anyone could answer, the sand near the ship suddenly shifted. Only a little, but enough for everyone to step back with raised weapons. Hold fire. General Kaif shouted. The sand quieted. The heartbeat signal kept playing. Sanaa tapped her scanner again. Sir, I think the object underground is connected to the ship. Kaif looked at her. Connected how? Rafi answered quietly. Maybe this ship didn't arrive alone. Maybe something was planted here before. Kaif's eyes narrowed. You mean something was waiting for it? Rafi shrugged. Or sleeping. A soldier ran toward them from the command tent. Sir, international channels are blowing up. America, China, Russia. Everyone wants answers. They detected the ship too. Kaif sighed. Of course they did. But there is more, the soldier added nervously. A second object has been detected. Not here. Not on this continent. Rafi felt a cold wave go through his body. Where? South America, sir. Sanaa closed her eyes. So there are two. Kaif looked at the silent alien ship again. And maybe more. An hour later, the team gathered again inside the tent. Two holograms floated above the table. Two alien ships, identical in shape and size, both silent. Rafi leaned closer. They landed at the same time. Perfect symmetry. Sanaa added, maybe it is a countdown, a sequence. Kaif looked at them. Explain. Rafi pointed to the desert ship. This one is step 1. It sends a signal underground. He pointed to the hologram of the South American ship. That one is step 2. It will activate something on that side of the planet. Kaif narrowed his eyes. And step 3? No one spoke for a moment. Then Sanaa said the words everyone feared. Planet-wide activation. Rafi whispered, a takeover. Kaif raised a hand. Before we jump conclusions, what do we actually know? Sanaa replied softly, we know the ship is not reacting to us. It is not moving. It is not curious. Rafi finished the thought. It is waiting for something. And whatever it is waiting for is not us. Suddenly, the lights inside the tent flickered. Radios crackled. Officers pressed their headsets, confused. What's going on? Kaif demanded. A technician shouted, Sir, something is interfering with our systems. Rafi grabbed a tablet. Its screen glitched with strange symbols. Sanaa's scanner beeped loudly. Sir, the heartbeat signal is changing. She turned the speaker volume up. The heartbeat became faster. Thump, 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 thump. Rafi felt his stomach twist. It's accelerating. Kaif stepped outside immediately. Everyone move. Secure positions. Soldiers ran to cover, pointing their weapons at the alien ship. The desert wind stopped suddenly, like the whole world held its breath. A vibration passed through the sand, light at first, then stronger. Sanaa stared at her scanner. Sir, something underground is rising. Rafi's eyes widened. Something under the ship? No, Sanaa whispered. Something much bigger. The ground cracked 50 meters away. Sand burst like an explosion. Soldiers shouted, falling back. Kaif raised his weapon instinctively. A massive black structure, twice the height of a tank, slowly pushed out from beneath the earth. It had the same metallic pattern as the alien ship, but darker, older, and covered in strange symbols. Rafi could barely breathe. This thing has been here for centuries. Sanaa dropped her scanner as the signal went wild. The underground structure lit up with blue lines. The alien ship responded, its entire surface glowing. Kaif shouted, "Everyone fall back! Now!" But Rafi knew the truth. The arrival had not begun with the ship. It began long before humans ever existed, and now it was waking up. The ground shook harder than before. Sand poured off the rising structure like water, revealing more metallic patterns carved into its huge black surface. Soldiers tried to hold their positions, but every vibration pushed them backward. Captain Rafi covered his head from falling dust. Stay low, he shouted. The underground structure rose until it stood fully exposed, tall, dark, and older than anything humans had ever found. It had no doors, no windows. Only the glowing blue veins across its body pulsed like blood. General Kaif's voice boomed across the comms. "Do not fire unless I give the order." Rafi knew why. It wasn't just a structure. It was reacting. Lights on the alien ship shifted from blue to a deep red. The patterns were no longer soft. They pulsed with purpose, like a warning. Major Sanaa stared at both objects, unable to speak at first. Then she whispered, "Sir, they're talking to each other." Kaif turned sharply. "How do you know?" Sanaa raised her trembling scanner. Energy spiked from the underground object. The ship responded with the same frequency. Its communication like a handshake. Rafi felt his throat tighten. A handshake means agreement. The sand beneath their feet trembled again. Slow, rhythmic, almost like footsteps coming from deep underground. Inside the command tent, chaos filled the air. Screens blinked with unstable signals. Communications officers tried to reach HQ but kept losing connection. Satellite feed down. No GPS. "Sir, the interference is planet-wide." Kaif slammed a hand on the table. "They're disabling our systems." Rafi turned to a map screen glitching with static. "This is strategy. They're not attacking yet. They're preparing the field." Sanaa pointed at the data spikes. "If this continues for 10 more minutes, our entire communication network might collapse." Kaif's jaw tightened. "They want us blind." A loud horn blared outside, one of the perimeter alarms. Soldiers shouted. Weapons clicked. Something new was happening. They rushed out. The alien ship had begun to rotate, not fast, but smoothly, silently. It hovered a few inches above the ground. The air around it rippled as if reality itself bent. Sanaa gasped. "It's powering up. The device underground is feeding energy." Rafi shielded his eyes from the bright glow. "What is its target?" Before anyone could answer, another explosion of sand erupted near the first underground structure. A second one rose. Then a third. All around the desert, more ancient towers pushed up from beneath the earth like giants waking up from a long sleep. Some small, some enormous. The sight was unbelievable and terrifying. Sanaa whispered, "Sir, this was all buried centuries ago. Maybe thousands." Kaif said nothing at first. Then, slowly, he replied, "This planet was never empty." The alien ship pulsed again. The red glow sharpened, shooting thin beams of light toward the nearest tower. The tower absorbed them, glowing brighter. More beams connected to more towers. Rafi stared at the shining network forming across the desert. "It's a grid. They're linking them." Sanaa nodded. "A planetary grid. Once fully activated. I don't know what happens." "Something big," Rafi said. "Something global," Sanaa added. Kaif stepped forward. "Something we must stop." But before he could give an order, a loud metallic click echoed from the nearest tower. Then another. Then dozens. The tops of the towers slowly opened like petals, revealing dark circular chambers inside. Rafi took a step back. "Oh no!" Kaif shouted. "Fall back! Everyone fall back from the towers." But it was too late. Inside the chambers, enormous orbs, smooth black and filled with swirling blue light, began to rise. The air vibrated. The sand around them liquefied. The alien ship emitted a deep, resonant hum. Sanaa backed up quickly. Sir, those resemble power cores. They're charging something above or below. Rafi's voice cracked. This is not a landing. It's a reactivation. Kaif yelled at the command post, ready anti-vehicle missiles. Aim but do not fire. Soldiers fanned out. Tanks rolled forward. The towers glowed brighter. The ship pulsed stronger. The orbs vibrated faster. And then, a beam shot straight into the sky. Pure blue energy surged upward like a column of lightning, piercing the clouds with a roaring sound. The desert lit up like daytime. Everyone dropped to the ground. The beam split into multiple streams, shooting into orbit. Sanaa stared at the sky, mouth open. It's sending a signal into space. Rafi whispered, No, it's calling something. Kaif grabbed his radio. HQ, this is General Kaif. The alien ship is static. Nothing. The entire communication system died in an instant. The sky glowed blue as the towers continued firing their energy upward. Rafi felt hopeless for the first time. We're out of time. Sanaa stepped closer to him. There must be a way to shut the towers down. Kaif looked at them both. We find that way now, before whatever they're calling arrives. Behind them, the ship rotated faster, its red patterns turning brilliant and dangerous. The real arrival had just begun. The desert shook like the earth itself had woken up. Beams of blue energy shot into the sky from dozens of underground towers, connecting with the alien ship above. The air crackled with raw power. Dust and sand whipped around the soldiers, blinding them, shaking their footing. Even the tanks struggled to stay upright. Captain Rafi shielded his eyes and shouted, Hold your ground. Don't fire until I give the order. But everyone could see this was no ordinary battle. The alien ship and the towers were not attacking yet. They were preparing something far bigger, something the humans could not yet understand. Major Sanaa turned to him, her face pale. Sir, if this grid finishes activating, it could reach orbit, or even beyond. Rafi's heart sank. Beyond, he whispered. He knew what she meant. Whatever the towers were calling would come to Earth itself. General Kaif clenched his fists. We are humans. We adapt. We survive. And we fight back. That's what we do. He pulled a tablet from his belt, tapping rapidly. Find me the weak points. Anything that can disrupt the energy network. Sanaa's fingers flew across her scanner. Each tower is linked to the ship, but they're following a sequence. If we disrupt the first tower, the others could fail. Rafi looked at the glowing towers. They're massive. Nothing in our arsenal can destroy them. Kaif shook his head. Then we outsmart them. Meanwhile, high above the desert, the alien ship pulsed with energy. Red light rippled across its surface as though it were alive. And deep underground, the towers began releasing more energy. The blue beams twisted into a network that seemed impossible to destroy. Then something happened. Something the humans were not expecting. A small figure appeared among the soldiers. Captain Rafi blinked and froze. It was Ethan Cole. He had somehow reached the site with the twin dragons. The dragons, no bigger than men at this point, leapt from his arms. Their scales shimmered like molten metal. Tiny flames danced along their spines, not harming anyone, but illuminating the dark night. The soldiers stepped back in awe. Even Kaif took a moment to register what he was seeing. Ethan's voice rang out, calm but firm. These towers, their design control everything. But the dragons are immune. They can disrupt the energy flow. Rafi stared. Dragons? The dragons roared in unison, a sound that shook the ground. They spread their wings, small flames sparking into the air. Then, almost instinctively, they soared toward the nearest tower. Energy from the tower shot out at them, but it failed to harm them. The dragons circled the tower, breathing fire that glowed blue as it connected with the energy lines. Sparks danced and arcs of light sizzled, severing the first tower's link to the ship. The beam to the sky flickered and weakened. Kaif's jaw dropped. You're stopping it? Ethan nodded. They trust me, and I trust them. If we work together, we can stop this grid before it finishes activating. The dragons moved from tower to tower, small bursts of fire disrupting the energy network. Sparks and explosions erupted from the towers, beams collapsing one by one. The alien ship pulsed angrily, its red patterns flickering. The soldiers cheered cautiously. Rafi fired a missile at a weakening tower. It exploded on impact, sending metal fragments flying. But the dragons had already moved to the next tower. Ethan shouted to them, "Now, take the central one." 2 dragons, wings spread wide, climbed onto the central tower. Their combined fire grew hotter and brighter than ever. It twisted around the tower's core, severing the final link to the alien ship. A deafening hum filled the air, then silence. The blue beams collapsed. The desert went dark. The alien ship shuddered and rose slightly, as if confused. Then slowly, it turned and lifted off, its red light dimming. Ethan exhaled, sweat dripping from his forehead. We did it, at least for now. Rafi and Kaifer ran toward him, staring at the dragons in awe. Humans and dragons? Kaif asked, shaking his head. Yes, Ethan said simply, stronger together. But the calm did not last. From the horizon, a new signal blinked on the scanners. A pulse unlike anything humans had ever detected. Not from the alien ship, not from the towers. Something far bigger, approaching fast. Sanaa stared at the screen, her voice trembling. This is not over. They know the dragons exist now. Rafi clenched his fists. We'll be ready. Ethan held the dragons close, their warmth reassuring. The twins chirped, almost playful, but their eyes glowed fiercely. They were not children anymore. They were weapons, guardians, and allies. The sun rose over the desert, painting the battle site in orange light. Humans had won today, but the universe had noticed. Ethan looked at the horizon, then whispered to the dragons, "Whatever comes next, we face it together." And somewhere, deep in space, a new enemy had already detected the power of the Ember-Twins. The hunt was about to begin again. The dragons roared, and humanity roared back. The Yendi for now.